how to rob a bank. I don't think we need any more introductions, right? So thank you for joining. My name is Jan Koning, and here from the SOC floor at Ontoit, we present to you ThreatTalks. And the subject of today is breaking the bank. Let's get on to it. Welcome to ThreatTalks. Let's delve deep into the dynamic world of cybersecurity. Let me introduce our guests of today. And first of all, it's Jayson E. Street. He is not an AI. He is actually very, very real. And we'll get into that. And he is, well, what is he not? First of all, he's a notorious bank robber, right? And but not convicted because everything is illegal, I'm assured. So that's fine. He's a cybersecurity professional. He's a speaker at Black Hat. He is an author, so what not? Jayson, welcome. What was the least amount of time it ever took you to rob a bank?
The one that's been recorded was about 15 seconds from the front door to the other one. I don't know if I've done it quicker than that, but that was the one that was on film.
That's really 15 fast. Seconds. 15 all right. Seconds. Well, on my other side is Luca Cipriano. He's a threat intel specialist at Ontoit. Luca, how much time did it take you to rob a bank?
I don't think it will end up well if I will attempt to rob the bank.
You never did. You never did.
No, luckily.
Sorry, I'm going to talk mainly to Jayson today.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So in this episode, what can we expect? So we are going to talk how do you rob a bank then? Well, we have the expert here, so I'm looking forward to learn a lot on that. And we are, as you are used to, we're talking about three different vulnerabilities. One is the Swift gateway vulnerability. There is the Android banking malware called Vultur, and there is one that's called the Binance hack that's in crypto. We'll briefly touch on those. What are the subjects? I mean, the human error, the impacts of all this, and of course we're going to have a treasure hunt as you're used to. So if you hear this, and there will be a code somewhere hidden, and take note of it, because if you send that to us, then this shirt that Luca is wearing is actually yours. So we'll send it to you.
Not this one specifically, yeah. Like similar to this.
We'll have and even in your size. So
it's mine.
That's yours. Yeah, please keep it. Yeah. So Jayson, welcome again. So how do you rob a bank? Can you tell us a little bit?
Very easily, it turns out. The key thing is so many people are trained to look for a guy coming in with a ski mask and a shotgun, and it's just about the training and the people. It's like, I'm not going after the technology. I walk in like a nice work jacket, collared shirt, and a USB drive, and they don't assume that I'm a threat. And that's the way that we get in. I'm actually circumventing human nature. It's like, I don't have to bypass your firewall if I can bypass your receptionist. It's like, that is what I'm trying to do. It's like, I'm trying to circumvent the technology by going directly to the people.
And that's 15-second time thing that got recorded. How did that work? What did you do?
I literally was I was outside of a bank in Beirut, Lebanon, that I've never been in before, and the door opened. They were on a break, but the door had opened because someone was walking by, I think, and it triggered the emotion, so it allowed me to open up the front door. And I literally just walked straight in, and then I immediately go to a cubicle, and I see that the workstation's unlocked. I plug in my USB device. It's a Hack5 rubber ducky. I plug it in. It executes the code, and I plugged it in within 15 seconds. And there's a timer on the bottom of the video, and you see that it takes 15 seconds to plug it in. It takes about 18 to 20 seconds for it to see it to start working, and by 28 seconds, it's complete, and I can just unplug it.
Yeah, so you're talking about this, just for clarification, robbing a bank could mean a zillion things. Actually walking out of the door with a bunch of cash, that could be one. In this case, you're talking about a rubber ducky, yeah?
Yeah. What I'm talking about is actually, I tell people, it's like, why would I go after cash? It's like, I've literally walked past bank. I've been behind the teller line where there was over $100,000 in cash stacked up on the counter. And I was like, and I ignored that because that's like, who wants just $100,000? When I'm able to plug in a compromising malware onto the teller's machine, or better yet, in that same video, you see me doing it on the machine that they handle all their wire transfers from. when I can compromise that machine, it's like I'm getting millions. Why would I care about the cash on the table? It's like that's chump change.
Yeah, the getaway is also easier, probably.
Way easier. It's a lot easier to carry out $1 million on a USB drive than in a bag.
I imagine that many people are surprised how easy this is, especially the persons who, ask you to do this, right? Can you explain
every
a little bit
single
how?
one of them, yes.
So because my understanding is, I mean, you do this, and of course that's for a good cause. You educate. You're an educator in that sense. You go to the people and say. So what responses do you get there?
I always usually get the same response where it's like, okay, we don't think you're going to be successful, but we want to do a test. We want to check. We want to teach them, and we want to just give them these exercises. So don't be upset if you don't. I'm like, okay, that's fine. One time in Lebanon, I actually had an executive who was like very dismissive of me and very contemptuous of me, and I was not happy with that attitude. And so he was like, well, do you need a couple of hours? And it's like, well, we understand that you're probably not going to be very, and it was just very so dismissive. I was like, I'll start right now. Let's go down to the lobby. You've got a bank branch right there. Y'all can follow me in 5 minutes and see how successful I get. And I did zero recon, no research, no nothing. I literally just went in the elevator, went down, and by the time they got down the elevator 5 minutes later, I had already compromised 3 machines and I was behind the teller line.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Can I ask you a question from more the technical point of view? Because you were mentioning using the rubber ducky from Hack 5. Do you need to prove that the code executed? Do you have a simple payload that goes? Or?
Yeah. I usually almost always use the same payload. It's like one of my mottos is it's about education, not exploitation. Mm-hmm. If I go and do a malicious payload on their machines, even if it's a legitimate test, then they're going to still be wondering what else is on there. And then I own that network for the next 6 months. If anything goes wrong, it's like, oh, well, we had that guy who executed code. My payloads literally only execute Notepad that automatically write a script on the Notepad and then saves it, which shows that I could execute something, because you could easily just write on Notepad a code and then like have it copied in, save it, and execute it by itself automatically. And also there's another one that I'll do where it's like I'll open up a command prompt and telnet to towel.blinkylights.nl, which does a really cool ASCII Star Wars in the command prompt, showing that I was able to get out of the firewall and to another website and execute code. And so I usually do those 2 codes specifically because it's supposed to be educational. I'm not there trying to actually exploit people or test them. I'm there to teach them. I'm to be the teachable moment for them. I don't do red teaming. I do security awareness engagement.
Yeah. And what is your experience, for example, with the EDR solution? Do you see that you don't get blocked often, or?
Yeah, EDR is adorable. It's like because EDR is looking for malicious and suspicious activity. The USB rubber ducky or the OMG cable, they're recognized by the system as keyboards. So why is there's nothing suspicious about the keyboard opening up Notepad, using the keyboard shortcuts and typing things out? The Bash Bunny, which is amazing, which is also the Hack 5 tool that I use, has a network USB device installed in it as well. So there's some EDR solutions where it's like you can't write to the USB drive. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. What happens is I have code that will then create a TFTP server on the USB drive. It's like, or like a share, and it will have the My Documents folder automatically loaded through the private network that was created when the network part of the driver was installed with the USB drive. It's like, and it will then copy everything and upload it via the private network. it bypasses the network, it bypasses the firewall, the IDS systems, everything else you have on it, because it's an internal USB network connection.
Yeah,
and
the point here, of course, is, I mean, for those who are doubting this is an actual hack, I mean, this is really worse, really bad. If you can get access to put a USB stick in somewhere in the machine, that is the keys to the kingdom, right? Let's leave no misunderstanding on this. This is how you actually rob a bank, because you control their system, and this is how, I mean, in the more technical sense of way, we try to make sure that phishing emails don't get there, that payloads aren't delivered. We have IPSs, we have malware filters, we have URL filters and all that. And you simply bypass all those layers of security. You inject yourself right in the heart of this is a bad thing, right? That's for those. If anybody would be in doubt, this is
that's really.
If
bad.
I own the hardware, if I can access the hardware, I can own your network.
Exactly. Is why banking, by the way? I mean, you are known for robbing banks. I mean, I understand there's money there. Airlines, hospitals, is it?
Oh no, I don't discriminate. I've robbed hotels, government agencies, a state treasury, a research facility, a manufacturing company. It's like I literally will do these engagements, and I've done it on 5 different continents so far.
5 continents. So, what is there any? What's the easiest thing? The easiest company maybe or vertical that you ever went to? Is there a difference? Are banks better? You make it sound like it's so easy to go into a bank, and in most people's minds, banks are the most protected, right? And if you go to a hospital or to universities or into industry or whatever, that's typically a bit less aware. Do you see that as well, or is it just same?
That's when the reason why I always talk about the banks is because we have that illusion of they have to be more secure. They've got money. I've robbed the state treasury, and it was just as simple. And I did that one by telling the truth because I was supposed to, but I just used it in a dishonest way. It's like the whole point is it doesn't matter what facility or what place, because I'm not going after the company or the industry. I'm attacking human nature. I'm attacking people. And people, one of the biggest myths that society tells us is this thing that people are different when you go to different places. Humans are humans. No matter where you are on the planet, we are all the same when it comes down to the fundamentals. You see someone that's doing something in your workspace, I guarantee you there's someone in South Africa that is in the workspace doing the same thing, or in Beijing or Boston. It's like it's
no cultural
all the
differences
same.
here. It's everywhere. Yeah, you
when it comes to the office
by
space.
telling the truth, you got in. Are you allowed to share a little bit about it?
They were a little upset that we'd already broken in through the network, and they were saying, well, you couldn't get in physically. And I was like, well, your state treasury headquarters is very secure, but you have a office building with a shared space, a shared office building with you only lease one office, and that one's very unsecure, and it's got a direct connection into your network. So people think they think logistically, they don't think geographically. They think like, oh, this is so 50 miles away, we're secure, people aren't going to target it. And I'm like, yeah, but on the network, you could be sitting right next to the state treasurer himself.
At light speed, literally at light speed. Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to go after that. And it was after hours, and they made all these parameters. It's called scope of work, saying this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. And so I'm like, okay, it's like, and their scope was you got to come in after 5:30. You can't talk to anybody that's coming out of the building because they may not be employees. You can only stay in the public area. You can only talk to the cleaning crew, but the cleaning crew is not directly employed by us, so you can't lie to them. You have to tell them the truth. And so I went to the cleaning crew lady after waiting there for 2 hours because I got in without talking to anybody because I just was like I was on my phone, and someone held the door open for me because they were being polite. And I told the cleaning lady, I'm trying to get back into this suite number, which I was there the day before, so I'm trying to get back in. I told them it's like I was working late. I had just gone to the bathroom. It was like, which I'd been there for 2 hours waiting to try to get a hold of the cleaning crew person. And I told them, it's like, I didn't have my employee badge with me. I forgot my employee badge. I did have an employee badge. I did not say it was the employee's badge of the place that I was trying to get into. And I told them I was only going to do one thing. I only did do one thing, which was destroy their network. So I literally told I told them all the truth. I just used it in a dishonest way.
Yeah. It's airtight, I would say, legally speaking.
Yeah, and it's a video. I've got it on video. That was the best part about it, is because I had to record it so they would know that I didn't lie. And I used it in a talk once. It's like, and so people could see, like, this is how you tell the truth and rob people.
We'll share a couple of links in the show notes to those talks. It's I recommend them all. Luca, this is the human factor is a weak one. Apparently, I mean,
Jason. No. Oh, no. Humans are not the weakest link. They're the least invested in. They're the least. If we invested in humans and teaching our employees the proper way to secure a device and how to be invested and actually responsible for their devices, like we invested in our equipment, we would have no problems whatsoever. But we invest so much on technology and blinky boxes that we leave our employees thinking that they're going to protect us. The technology is going to protect us. We need to get the employees, more education on how they protect the technology.
Good, there's hope then. But on the subject of this weak link, Luca, there's one of the, we're going to have a deep dive later in the upcoming weeks. One of them is about the Swift gateway. That there was a lot of human factor involved in that. Can you very briefly explain this?
This was a heist against a bank that actually did not leverage the Swift system, so there was not a vulnerability in the Swift system. But the main entry point was, of course, the poor security in the bank, how the network was designed, and also how, as we learned, the employees were invested in, probably. Because
quick learner.
The main the first foothold was they gained foothold by spear phishing. So they sent an email with attached zipped file, which was supposed to have a CV of somebody that was applying for a job to the HR, which, of course, the person didn't think about why the CV is zipped. So then they open it.
Digital rubber ducky that was...
Yes. They managed then to lateral move in the network, install more backdoor until they entered in systems that were connected to the Swift, which
$1 billion,
almost.
They recovered a little.
They made some mistakes. We will discuss this a bit more in depth in the deep dive. But they managed to steal a lot of money. One of the problem also is that this bank had actual admin. Local user admin on the machine as well, so that was easier to gain admin access and install tools to monitor and get Swift passwords.
We'll learn everything about it in the upcoming episodes. Yeah, that's a common thing, Jason. So you you rob banks for a living. That's a really cool job description, I'd say. Everybody would probably say. But I learned that you also, by accident, one day, robbed the wrong bank. There's actually footage of that online as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that? That's an error. You're still here, so...
I have a disclaimer. It's like, I've only robbed the wrong bank once, okay? All the other banks I was supposed to rob, okay? It's like that I've robbed successfully.
You're forgiven.
So it's like, I only robbed the wrong one once. The problem was I always tell people, it's like, I don't adult very well and they think I'm joking, but nope, I am serious. I was not very professional on this engagement. It was my mistake. I had to go to the restroom very badly because I was drinking too much Diet Pepsi, and so I was in such a rush to get into the bank so I could find out where the restroom was. I didn't pay attention to what the signage was in this country, where it's like where the which bank I was in, and there's like banks everywhere. It's like they were like Starbucks. You're like on different banks on every corner. And so I literally just walked in. It's like I saw a teller line that was good enough, went up, went up to the second floor because usually in a lot of European countries and foreign countries, it's like the bathroom is on the second floor or the first floor or the zero or -1. And so I go up, I go to the restroom, and I come back down. I'm like, I start like, well, let's start. And I just start robbing. I've compromised a couple machines. And then the third person questioned me and took me to their supervisor. And I was like, oh, that's good. It's like, I like it when they stop me and question me because I want them to do good. And so I go to the supervisor and I show them this forged email that I have on my iPad, which usually gets them to do more stuff. And if they don't, and if it doesn't, I say I have better paperwork in my car. Let me go get it, and then I can leave. But when I show them this forged email, she looks at me and she goes, "This is for the bank next door. So what did you do to our computers?" And usually I have all these. I'm ready to come back with all these different kinds of scenarios and how to respond and different ways about why I should be able to get away. Literally, I just like the only thing I could come out of my mouth was, "This is unfortunate."
Yeah,
this is unfortunate. I had nothing. I literally had nothing. I was just like dumbfounded. It was a very bad mistake.
Free consultancy to the bank. There should be.
That's how it ended. I literally, by the time it took me 4 hours to stay out of prison, it's like, and the last 2 hours was literally doing nothing but consulting the bank that I accidentally robbed about all the things that they did that allowed me to do it. And then the head of their security called the head of the security of the bank I was supposed to be robbing. And halfway through the conversation, I didn't understand all of it, but halfway through the conversation, the guy was like, he did say in English, "So do we have to split the fee?" And it's like, okay, maybe I'll get out of this. It's
that's
like maybe there's
free out of jail card.
That's where hope. That's where hope came back for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and did they thank you in the end?
They did. It's like it was a positive. My whole point is when I'm done with the engagement, it should be looked at as a positive experience, a learning experience, not something like, oh, y'all did all these things wrong. It's like, this is what you learned to do better. And so by the time it was done, I was literally walking out the door and I was like, okay, we're good now, right? I helped you with teaching. No handcuffs. I can leave now. It's like, as I was backing out of the door, and they were like, yes, and they were laughing, and it was a good experience for everybody by the time.
And then you had to do the other one.
Exactly. And it's like, and I met one of the guys from that bank, from the wrong bank, about 10 years later in Dubai, of all places, and he was working at another company, and he was like, he said, "Yeah, dude, it was great. It was a great experience. It's like it helped us get us our security." So it's like, in the end, it helped them.
Nice.
Yeah, that's lucky.
I feel very much like doing a treasure hunt right now, right? So, like I announced at the beginning, there's a code, and the code, I'll actually say it out loud, and it's on the screen as well. It's 072402. So, take note of that code, send it to us to code@threat-talks.com. That shirt, well, another instance of it will be yours. Shall we go to the...
Shirt. Am I eligible? Am I eligible for that shirt too? Because I like that shirt.
I guess you got the code, right?
You got the code, yeah. And, I'm too afraid. I'm too afraid not to send him a shirt. Yeah,
he's gonna come here and rob the shirt.
We'll send it to you for sure, certainly. So we go to the Vultur hack real quick. Luca, that's the other one that we're going to do a deep dive on later, and that's about mobile banking.
This is like a Trojan for Android, so for phones. This is an old malware that already exists, but this is a new version. The way this malware is installed on your phone is via phishing. So you get vished or smishing also. It depends. Or maybe it can be on a Play Store camouflaged as a legitimate application, but instead it's just a dropper. And a dropper is just an application that will, as soon as it's installed, it will establish a connection to the C2 server from the attacker and then download additional payloads based on the applications that are detected. In this case, the bank, for example. And this one is really bad because, as we will explain in the deep dive, they use different method of communications, including a messaging system that is called Firebase Cloud Messaging. So it does not need constant C2 communication.
Advanced evasive technologies.
Yes, they use also encryption and encoding and the way
point
to
here is it's an app from an app store that's on your machine that has nothing to do with banking. And it screws up your banking.
Yes, and it's a Trojan, so that it is camouflaged as a legitimate. Like they used it a lot with McAfee. For example, you get those notifications that you have a lot of viruses from McAfee, which is not McAfee, and then you end up downloading from somewhere else an application which is similar to McAfee with the same functionalities, but instead then it roots your phone.
But even if you are vigilant, like Jayson teaches us, we need to be aware that what the things we do and do not automatically trust things. This has nothing necessarily to do with banking. I mean, yes, it could be a banking lure in kind of situation, but it could also be the next app.
Yeah, that's more user awareness. Like,
yeah, but I'm downloading apps, and if it works, I'm happy with it. So
yeah, but you should be aware of where you downloaded it from.
Well, we'll talk about it in the deep dive.
We'll
Jayson,
go more in depth.
Yeah. Mobile banking applications. I mean, that's a weak spot, right? Is there anything? Did you ever? What's your opinion on that?
I tell people it's like I love Androids, and the reason why I love Androids are the same reason why they're not very secure. Is because Android allows you to do whatever you want to your device. You own that device. You can root it. You can take control of it. You can add things. It's like you can make it exactly the way it looks and feels to be your own, which is great, but not secure, because you have to be very careful on which apps you're downloading, because they could be like that. iPhone, the reason why I love it for security is the reason why I hate it that I have to use one, is because they lock everything down. They lock everything down where it's like you can't, we don't trust you with nothing. It's like, we know how you operate a computer. It's like, don't mess with anything. We'll just make it work for you. So my solution, what I use is I have a Samsung device. It's like I have 2 or 3 phones that I use, and I've got Androids and I've got an iPhone. And what I do is most of my banking, you buy a €100 phone. It's like preferably a Samsung that has Samsung Pay capability. And what I tell people is you don't buy a SIM card for it. You don't allow text messaging. You don't download any social media apps. You download your banking apps. You add your cards to your wallet, to your Samsung Pay, and that's it. You just put those apps on that instead of carrying a wallet like the old time. Back in the olden days, we had this folded piece of leather that we put actual real money and paper money and currency in. It's like now just carry the phone as your wallet, and when you need to pay something, you pay it out, and you can hotspot it off your real phone or your internet at home, and you can do all your banking and you can do all your bill pays from that one device, and don't have anything on anything that gets a text message, anything that has email of a capability. You don't put any of your banking apps. You don't put any of your bill pay apps. You don't put any of your virtual credit cards on that device. So that way, the ones that could be compromised doesn't have access to the money, and the one that has money doesn't have access to the internet or a way for it to be compromised.
So to be clear, your credit cards and stuff, you do not put on your banking phone, or you do?
No, you put all your cards, you put all your credit cards, you put all on the banking phone.
Yeah,
but not on your regular phone.
Yeah, and on your regular phone, there's no mail, no text messages, no Signal, no WhatsApp, nothing. Really nothing.
On your okay, so phone 1 is the one that you take phone calls from, the one that has a SIM card. Phone 1 has all your social media, all your email, all your text messages. Phone 2, which is what you use to pay for everything, it doesn't have anything. It doesn't have a SIM card connected to it. So therefore, no text messaging. You don't download any Outlook clients. You don't download any email to it. It just has the banking apps, and it just has the credit cards on that one device.
It sounds like a very personal PCI DSS compatible solution, where you air gap everything.
But yeah, I just didn't understand. How do you store offline the credit card? Doesn't it need network connection?
The Samsung has a thing called Samsung Pay, which actually even is better than the Apple Pay because it actually mimics the card stripe, the magnetic stripe on the back of a credit card.
I didn't know.
It's like the iPhone. It's like you can't use Apple Pay because you're just using it for your messages and your email and your social media. But you always carry your Samsung. It's like when you want to pay for something with your wallet.
And say goodbye to paying with your watch then.
Exactly. Or or actually get a Samsung watch.
A second one
that can be paired with your iPhone. No, you just pair the Samsung watch with your iPhone, and it comes out. I'm actually looking at the new Samsung because it's actually even the newer one is going to be monitoring blood glucose for diabetics. It's like I'm diabetic, so it's like it would do that. So. Yeah, it's like you can pay with your watch, the Samsung Pay on the watch, and it does mimic the same credit card kind of thing too. It looks like you're from the future because they're like, oh, we don't accept Apple Pay or electronic pay. And I'm like, I know, but it's like, let me put this over your card reader. And it does it. And all of a sudden they're like, what?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that sounds easy and a solution to a lot of problems.
Well, I mean, unless the only problem is that now I need to carry 3 phones because I have one for work, one private, and then now I need one for banking as well. So it's going to be...
That's why you get one of the small ones.
Yeah, and 2 watches also.
And since there's no cellular reception, you don't need a big battery because that would use up most of it. Yeah, nice. Hey, before we get into how do we improve all this and how we can help these uneducated users that we have neglected, let's briefly talk about a little bit of a sidetrack maybe. What's on cryptocurrency and stuff. We have a hack or a vulnerability that we're going to discuss in one of the next episodes, yes. Luca. It's called the Binance hack. Mm-hmm. Well, in preparation, it's a really complicated one. So for the tech lovers around here, it's really cool to look into this. We actually invited our top crypto guy in a company to explain us all these difficult things. Can you briefly explain?
Sure.
Without getting into the technical details
really
now.
Brief. In the deep dive, we're going to talk about blockchain, decentralized finance, cryptography a bit more in depth. So it's going to be a good one if you're technical. What happened is, long story short, there are different blockchains that they communicate. They can't communicate with each other to transfer this crypto. And what exists, those are like cross-chain bridge that facilitate transaction between networks that normally couldn't communicate with each other. There was a flow from Binance, 2 of those chains, on one of the applications that they built that is a cross-chain application. And it was a flow in the implementation of the Merkle tree, which is, we will talk about this in depth in the deep dive, but it is how the transaction got verified, and they managed to create out of nothing 2 million BNB, which were roughly $600,000.
Yeah, so a flaw in the protocol in this case that wasn't properly checked, and therefore users could out of thin air create money, and it suddenly existed no way to trace it. Yes, that's a whole new area. I mean, in banks with gold in the
we had gold in the time that it was packed with gold. Now apparently
completely different.
That's different.
Jason, what's your view on this? I mean, the finance industry is changing. I mean, yes, China already has a crypto-backed currency, of course. Banks are getting smaller, more. Yeah, fintech is coming up a lot. What's your view on this? Does this change our finance secure world?
I think one of the biggest things that my observations about cryptocurrency is that the only people I've seen show a record profit from cryptocurrency are the people who rob the cryptocurrency exchanges. It's like, I don't see very many other people that actually have a lot of money to show from all their crypto that they have. There's a few edge outliers, but not many. I think it's adorable because it reminds me of doing this cryptocurrency, reminds me of literally back in the 70s or 80s where there was this big era of like Beanie Babies, which is like, we don't remember Beanie Babies. Trust me, in about 50 or 60 years, we'll see how much many people remember Bitcoin.
Never heard of it.
But it's like
no clue what those are.
It's a long time ago, and it's like, but they would invest in these Beanie Babies, and they would like wait for it to get more expensive and like appreciate value. It's like you'd have to wait for a bit. You had to mine it. It's like hold it and stuff. And then it would be worth more. And then all of a sudden a new one would come out and you had to wait for that to drop. And it's like, and you'd have to like wait and you had to make sure that you're one of the first ones to get it. It's literally like digital Pokemon, except for the fact is at least when we invested in the Beanie Babies and it eventually cratered, the whole economy of that cratered, at least you still had Beanie Babies. And still, you had real life objects you could throw in the trash versus this virtual thing that you could lose from like misplacing a USB drive.
Yeah, it's a bit of a belief system that's there for a short term, and the financial system is a longer term, at least longer term. So, and what about federal banks getting into a crypto version of a coin? Then, I mean, like China already did. ECB in Europe is thinking of it. Federal Reserve is researching.
I think I think that it's going to be an interesting turn. It's going to be interesting to see because I don't think banks always thought they had a target on their backs before. And I'm like, oh no, nope. Now you're going to have a target on your back. It's like now you're going to have to make sure that your security is really good. It's like,
Indeed.
Because when you start hosting the digital currency, now you got a whole other version of bank robbers that you have to be ready for, more like my kind. And so I think that it's like it would be nice to see it regulated where it's like it's actually treated like currency. If it can be treated like fiat currency, that would be an interesting development. But what I would, and that's the problem though, is like the whole reason why Bitcoin and cryptocurrency was done was so it wouldn't be regulated. It wouldn't be harnessed like this. But the only way to make it mainstream and successful is for that to happen. And I'm not smart enough to solve that problem. I'm not smart enough or educated enough in crypto. It's like to be able to give a educated opinion on the way those things. So I just have my layman's opinions where I can just, lob tomatoes from the sidelines going, oh, are terrible. But I don't have the educational knowledge to say, here's all the exact reasons why you're terrible.
Yeah, well, time will tell, I guess, and we'll probably briefly touch on it in the deep dive as well.
Deep dive, yeah, for sure.
So
I'm looking forward to it.
Well,
it's going to be fun.
Make sure you're subscribed to our channel, to everybody.
I am.
Yeah. So you mentioned a couple of times that humans are the least invested in. So, and you are obviously investing a lot in that. Companies hire you all over the world to help them in a very easy to understand way realize what's wrong, where things went wrong, and you educate them on it. So suppose I am a CISO on any organization. Do you have some pointers for me? What should we?
Yes. If you're a CISO in a company, it's very simple to start getting your employees to understand their responsibilities with their computer security. People don't understand computers very well, and they think that is a hindrance, and it's not. We all understand cars, even if we don't drive. It's like we all understand vehicles and how cars work. If your company hires delivery drivers, well, your delivery driver is given a piece of equipment, that delivery van. And even though that their job is technically to just drive and deliver packages, at the same time, something that we gloss over is the responsibilities that they have for that piece of equipment, the security of that equipment. They have to lock the doors when they go and take a break. They have to make sure They're obeying the safety laws of the country that they're in. They have to make sure that they're using their turn signal. They have to make sure that they're using their seatbelt, safety prevention features. They have to make sure that they have all those working, and then they're using those. So the delivery driver says, no, my job is just to deliver these packages. I'm not responsible for the security of this vehicle. That's someone else's job. No, they understand that because they were given that equipment, they're responsible for the security of that equipment. Unfortunately, because the computer is something that we just associate with the virtual world and not the real world, we don't have that same attitude for some reason. And we need to start educating our employees that if you're given a piece of equipment, like a laptop or a desktop computer, and access to a network, well, guess what? That means you're also responsible for the security of that device. That's not an extra job that's supposed to be somebody else's. That's your responsibility because you are responsible for that piece of equipment that you were given. And when we start showing them that that was always part of their job, not something extra, not something else that they had to do, they'll start doing it because people are only going to do what they're paid to do. And if you don't explain to them that part of their job responsibility is to secure it, then why would they bother doing it? They're just trying to earn their paycheck. It's like, so give them that education of letting them realize that they are responsible for the security and they will start being better responsible for
Maybe
it.
we need something like a driving license for computers.
Yeah, I was about to say. But that exists kind of. How you do work.
So
but
before you start, you need to learn
but if someone comes up to you and says, hey, I have this new petrol for you, please put it in your tank, new kind of thing, would you do it? And I would say, I would never accept it in my car, but the real, but the cyber equivalent of it apparently happens all the time.
Yeah.
If I go out to the company parking lot and I see on top of my employee vehicle, my company car, a cardboard box that says from the CEO with the CEO's name, and it says it's to me, am I automatically going to open up that box and see what it got me? Especially like, oh, this is nice. Why is it ticking? You know, it's like, you don't. You're not going to open up just this random package that you find on top of your vehicle. Why would you open up a random attachment that's in your email?
But how do we get it into people's minds? I mean, the box example that is an excellent example of what people would not mistake for something legitimate, right? And yet in the digital world, it's always the case that people do. Why is that?
Because people are, we have this complacency about, because it happens in the virtual world, it doesn't really impact us. And we get this attitude of like, and it's not the fault of the employees. Security is failing employees by not showing them and educating them in terms that they understand. We're talking about quantum computing and blockchain and it's like, you know, right over the head. It's like, and that's not because they're stupid. They're not stupid. They're not educated and they're ignorant of these facts. And it's like, and they can be educated because we have not made took the trouble of trying to educate it to them and say it to things to them in ways that are relatable to them. We have to make it relatable to them. We have to teach them. They don't have to understand us. We have to communicate it in a way they can understand. And once we do that, they get better.
I did try this with a few people. It's really difficult, especially when they don't have interest in it. But I think, as you mentioned, that we need to change the philosophy behind it, and it should be more part of the culture in general.
Yeah, maybe show it better. I mean, if you don't see it, it doesn't exist. That's probably also a part of it. I mean, if you crash your car, well, there's obvious repercussions, but.
That is a perfect example. I tell people I play video games like Call of Duty, Fortnite, first-person shooters. And I am the worst player that you want on your team because I love just going around and shooting. I'm like, pew, 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 America, Leroy Jenkins, and I'm just shooting everybody. And then I get shot, and then I just respawn. It's like, and then I'm like, pew, pew.
Yeah,
if
that's
you
a game.
Put electrodes. Yes, but if you put electrodes on my body, and every time I received a shot in the game, I would get a jolt of electricity. Oh no, I'd be like,
yeah,
pew, pew, pew.
Yeah, so you should make the digital world much more real than for people. What about
show them the impact?
Yeah. There's also people that feel stupid, maybe to themselves, and not because they are, because that's iPad is weird and my son does it better than me. That also gets you. It doesn't give you a lot of self-esteem in the digital place, and people are frightened that they would get laughed at or punished for bringing forward stuff that they're not sure about. Do you see that as well? Do you have an opinion on that?
I have a very good response to that because I get that a lot, and I let people understand. I drive a car, okay? I can drive a car really well. I've got the speeding tickets to prove it, okay? But I don't know how to change the spark plugs. I can barely check the oil if I had to. If you put a gun to my head, I could possibly change the oil, not horribly, but I don't know anything else about a car. Does that make me stupid? Am I dumb
but you do ask about
my car? But I know how the car works, and I just do what I want it to do. If I need anything else, I go to a mechanic. It doesn't make me dumb. It's just the car is supposed to do what I need it to do, and I need to be trained on that. We need to let the employees know that the computer is just like a car. You don't have to understand how the technology works. You don't have to understand those things. You have to understand how the seat belts work, how the operations work, how people will try to tap on your windshield and try to carjack you. It's like via the computer. It's like you need to understand these things. It's like, and these are what you need to concentrate on. Don't worry about how it happens. Just worry about what you'll see when they're doing it.
And be fine asking someone if there's something out of the ordinary. And be sure that you don't get punished for mentioning it, for reporting it.
Security needs to understand that we need to do better, like communicating. How many security teams actually go and whenever there's a new iOS update or an Android update, do they send an email out to all their employees saying, hey, by the way, there's a new security update for your devices? Do they send out a monthly email saying, here are some new attacks that we're seeing out in the wild, it's like that you should be aware of? When employees start seeing security as people that actually care about their security and not trying to find them messing up and not seeing them as potential threats, then they are going to feel more comfortable talking to security. And when they realize they can report a small mistake that they did to security without massive repercussions, then they will be more likely to go and say, oh man, I clicked on a link. I'm sorry. It's like, but I'm telling you right now exactly what happened, because a 5-minute breach is a lot easier to survive than a 5-month breach, because the person felt guilty and they felt like they were going to get in a lot of trouble for telling someone that they clicked on the link.
Yeah, I think a lot.
And that's what we have to get better.
I think a lot is also what you mentioned, the shame. I've seen it in first person when I was working in an incident response, and it really delayed our effort because the user was not giving the correct information at the moment, probably just because maybe he was a bit ashamed of the fact that it caused a breach.
It happens all the time.
So that might help. That will help a lot.
There
It would
should
have sped up.
any repercussions if you help.
No, not at all. Actually, you should be prized because you came forward and mentioned it.
Well,
the first one is no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
No harm, no foul. Yeah. Thank you. Well, we are 15 minutes over time or so. That happens when you're having fun.
Well, it's interesting, yes.
Well, there's a lot of takeaways here. Robbing a bank is very easy, apparently. Well, if you're good at it.
Don't do that, please. Don't do that. Don't try.
Only if you get a written permission. Well, or just hire Jayson. Yeah. That's probably best. And we need to invest more in people. Jayson, thank you for helping us understand that, and no repercussions if things go south. And when you report that should be praised. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. there are infographics about the deep dives that we're going to talk about. You can look them up already, and well, tune in for the deep dives in the next three weeks. We have the 3 threats that we discussed today in more detail. Well, Jayson, once again, thank you very much for all your insights and for making the world a better place. Luca, thank you very much. Thank you to our listeners. If you liked what you saw today, please like this video because it helps us spread the word and have others enjoy it as well. And if you don't want to miss any episode, there's going to be 3 deep dives, and then there's going to be a regular episode like this one. And that is a cadence that we keep over and over again. Subscribe to this video, subscribe to this podcast, because that will make sure that next Tuesday you will have the next episode in your inbox as well. And we'd love to hear your feedback. Mail us at team@threat-talks.com. And if you have a good feedback that we can work with, you will also get a shirt that is similar to what Luca is wearing. So from the Security Operations Center floor here at Onto-It, I thank you very much and hope to see you next time. Thank you for listening to Threat Talks, a podcast by Onto-It Cybersecurity and M6. Did you like what you heard? Do you want to learn more? Follow Threat Talks to stay up to date on the topic of cybersecurity.